Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Budgeting for Your Food Business webinar. My name is Christina Delicio, and I work for the Cambridge Community Development Department as an Economic Development Specialist. In our department, we offer many resources for small business owners, including grants, technical assistance, free trainings, and direct one-on-one assistance. If you do a quick Google search for Economic Development Cambridge, it will pull up our website, and you can also find it at cambridge.gov/cdd/econdev. This webinar is part of our Food Business Incubator Program workshop series. The Food Business Incubator Program includes multiple workshops, as well as our food truck program and some information about the city's new cottage food operations permit. Some very quick housekeeping. This webinar has now officially been recorded, so we are now recording live. Attendees are muted and have no video, but we do have a pretty small group here, so if we have time at the end, we might be able to unmute folks and just have a more casual conversation. We'll kind of see how it goes. The Q&A function does work, and if folks either pose a question or put a comment, I will be monitoring it during the presentation. So with that, I am thrilled to turn it over to our webinar instructor, Ploy Kunasorn, Director of Educational Programs at CommonWealth Kitchen. We're so grateful for her guidance and her expertise today. So thank you again, Ploy, and please take it away.
Thank you, Christina. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this workshop. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start sharing the screen, and then we'll go from there. So I hope everyone see the screen. So welcome to the budgeting your food business. My name is Ploy. As Christina mentioned, I am the Director of Educational Programs at CommonWealth Kitchen. So, I hope that this workshop and webinar can be interactive. So if you have a business right now, so please feel free to write your business name. Or if you don't have a business, you can also write like a concept or any idea into the chat for Q&A, or you can also put it in for, panelists and all attendees. And then we can also get a chance to see everyone's ideas from there. So for some of you who don't know CommonWealth Kitchen, so CommonWealth Kitchen is a food incubator kitchen in Boston. We are here to build a new food economy grounded in racial, social, and economic justice by strengthening the capacity, connections, and collective power of diverse entrepreneurs to start and grow successful food businesses. Since you are here in our webinar, for some of you who are in the area, tomorrow we are hosting CommonWealth Kitchen Food Show. So please check our website, commonwealthkitchen.org/food show. So this way, if you get a chance or have time, please feel free to join us and also experience the 90 vendors who will be showcased, international food that locally produced in the area, not just come out from CommonWealth Kitchen, but we also invited businesses in the area that they are located in Cambridge. Some of you, in the area, all of them will be at our food show. For the webinar today, we have like an agenda. So fundamentals of budgeting, financial sustainability, and a small food business. How to calculate and anticipate costs before you start a food business, and how to build strategic plans. So we decided to offer this class because many people decide to start a food business, but didn't realize how much money it takes to build a profitable food business. Some people started with us at CommonWealth Kitchen and also didn't realize it requires a lot of money to run a food business, so they end up quitting. And I use the word quit because they didn't even start it. They just tried to start, and then they realized that it took so much money, and then they quit, just like stop, their dream. So before we get started, I would like you to think, why do you want to start a food business, and what is your purpose, and what is your end goal? So this way is gonna help you start planning and also help you start thinking about how you're gonna plan for your food business. Starting a food business takes more than just a good idea and delicious food. I know a lot of people would love to do, the best cookies in the world. I have heard a lot. Everyone claim that their cookies are the best. It takes more than just the word delicious, and as you probably experience that a lot of the food products on the shelf are not completely delicious to you per se, but it could be delicious for some other people. So starting a food business takes more than just the word delicious. So now there are 3 rules for success in food entrepreneurship. If you want to give it a guess, please type it in the chat and we're gonna review 3 rules. Anyone want to chime in and type it into the chat? Awesome. Consistency. That's great. Anyone else want to try? All right. If not, we are just new experiences. Awesome. Great. So the first rule, managing food and labor costs. Awesome. That's great. This is awesome. So my first rule is don't run out of cash. This is like the rule for success in food entrepreneurship. What's about the second rule? Also, don't run out of cash. And also the third rule, see rule 1 and rule 2. So now, how to not run out of cash. So having a great plan will help you maximize your time and resources. Not all ideas will come to the market. So having a great plan will help you maximize your time and resources, and also will help you reduce the risk of going bankrupt. It's important to spend most time in the early phase as much as possible to reduce costly manufacturing trials and investments. Some food products or food services are not technically feasible to make it or run it. In the long run, it won't be profitable. Not all ideas will come to the market, and that's okay. It's better to know early than too late so that you don't need to waste your financial resources and especially your time, because your time is one of the most valuable resources for you. So now, it's no exaggeration when we say you need the minimum of $20,000 to start a food business, and every penny counts. If you're not planning or tracking your business money, you will have no idea how to cut costs and to put money where it will have the biggest impact. So make sure that you plan ahead, and then you will be in a good shape. And why does it take a lot of money to start a food business? So now we are gonna plan for the food business budget. So what is a food business budget? A budget is a detailed plan to outline where you will spend money on building your business monthly or annually. The budget will help you estimate your fixed cost, and then it will help you forecast how much you have to earn to be profitable. The best budget should be simple and flexible. So this way you also can adjust. However, like planning is the key. So at least you can foresee what is gonna come. So in order to have the financial sustainability, we recommend using this formula to simply calculate your financial sustainability. Quantity multiplies gross margin per unit have to be higher than the fixed cost. It might sound confusing. Let's start with the fixed cost. The fixed costs are the costs that are required to operate the business, whether or not you sell any product. For example, if you have the fixed cost at $100, let's say a retail price of this beverage is $3 per bottle. The cost of goods sold is $2, which means that our gross margin is $1. Now, how many bottles do you need to sell to cover the fixed cost? We need to sell 100 bottles to cover the fixed cost. Let's say if your fixed cost is not $100, What if it would cost you $5,000 instead? You need to sell 5,000 bottles to break even. In reality, it takes more than $5,000 to sustain the food business. Now it's your job to write down your fixed costs for your food business. This analysis is an expression for long-term sustainability. So we are gonna go through that in details. The fixed costs sometimes refer to overhead costs, are all of your regular consistent costs that don't change whether or not you sell your products. In other words, they are set expenses that a company must pay regardless of sales. These fixed costs would include business entity fee, business certificate fee, wholesale health permit, retail health permit, and any business license fee. They also include liability insurance premium, legal and accounting services, website hosting, kitchen rentals, or even equipment leasing. Some food businesses could have higher fixed costs. For example, manufacturers like CommonWealth Kitchen tend to have higher fixed costs because we need equipment and space. So for example, like the equipment cost is actually much higher than, like the business certificate fee or something like that. Knowing your fixed cost is essential because you have to know how much you need to make each month to keep the lights on. There are more fixed costs than what we have listed here, which could include advertising fee, employee salaries, interest expenses if you borrow money, and like property taxes if you own your property, utilities, which could be your phone bills, electricity, gas, and things like that. So we are gonna come to the little bit of the workshop to kind of like go through all of this. So this way you can also get to write it down with me today, and then you can also write it down in the paper. So now we're gonna go to the workshop to kind of like help you calculate the fixed cost. And a lot of people didn't realize that the fixed cost you kind of like need to pay in advance before you even actually earn some money. For example, like business entity fee, you have to start and register your business before you even sell your product. So this way, that's why a lot of people didn't realize that they need to set aside some money to help you get started your business. So this, when you know all about this, so at least you can also plan ahead and plan how you're gonna finance all of these expenses. So now we're just gonna work on this together. So for the business entity, let's say we are doing LLC. If you are doing corporation, it's gonna be a little bit cheaper, but there are pros and cons. So if you are interested in learning more, we also have other workshops to teach about the business entity as well. So let's say that you are doing LLC. So if you have like a piece of paper with you, let's have it, write it down. So this way we can all calculate this together. Business entity fee, let's say we have $500. This is actually an actual fee. So you need to renew this every year. So technically $500 is a fixed expense per year. Next is the business certificate fee. So this actually goes by the city. For the city of Cambridge is $50. And I know Christina will know how many years of this that we need to renew, because technically if you are in Cambridge, it's gonna be different when if your business is in Boston, or if your business is in Waltham or things like that. The wholesale health permit, if you are planning to do wholesale products, selling your products to, let's say, Whole Foods, Stop and Shop, Market Basket, and things like that, or even you sell your food products to your cafe, not your cafe, someone else cafe or restaurants, that is a wholesale permit, and you need to get the permit with the state of Massachusetts, and that fee is $300 a year. And this fee you need to renew it every year. So it's not a one and done expense. And if you want to sell direct to consumer, you can also, apply directly to the city. So for the city of Cambridge, technically all the city has the different price of the retail permit depending on what type of food business you are in. The restaurant permit fee is also different from direct to consumer sales online, or so technically the fee is around $100 to around like $300. What I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna put in an average fee for the workshop purposes. So it's like an average. And then if you actually know which type of business you are in, you can actually write it down for the actual number for your own purposes. So this way you can also get a sense of how you can sum up all the money. Now, liability insurance premium. So for the liability insurance, usually is $500 a year. And if you have some other add-on, it's usually could be $700 a year or $1,000 a year. So I put in $500, but sometimes when I teach my students, I usually say that just put it like the max amount that you could possibly pay, because some business really have like a risky food where they need to kind of like add some add-on for the insurance to help protect their company. So having, set up like an kind of like exaggerated the plan a little bit is actually will help you, because at the end of the year, at the end of the the whole calculation, is always nice to have extra money left in your pocket rather than you need to like find a way to source them. So the next one is the legal accounting services. So this is more for like if you need to hire a lawyer or attorney or CPA to help you with the tax. So that also depends on how much. I'm not gonna put in here because technically most of the food startups can also get a lot of pro bono from a lot of nonprofit attorney firm. So I'm just gonna leave it out, and then because this is so vary from like $0 to like $5,000. So I'm just gonna leave this out because it's super vague on this. Website hosting. So in order to start a food business or any type of business, you need to have some kind of the website. This way your business has some kind of like credibility, so people check your website, people want to see who you are. It's almost like the website is the face of your business. So you need to have a website, and that is annually should be around like $300 a year. And then the domain name could be around $100 a year. So I would just put in $400 on this. Oops. So $400 for website hosting and then for the domain name. And usually the first year you might get a discount. So that could also, you could save some money on that. Kitchen rental, because we are CommonWealth Kitchen, we provide shared kitchen space in Dorchester. So we usually have the minimum fee per month for the kitchen rental. I'm just gonna leave this out for now. But if you have your own space, or if you have to rent or anything, you can also put them in. This amount I usually calculate in annually. So this way you can also plan in a year rather than in a month, because otherwise, business entity fee is kind of like very difficult to calculate in a month. And whatever happened, like let's say that the kitchen rental fee is, let's say $500 a month, you can also multiply by 12 and then you just put in annually. So this way it's easier to plan. So I leave it out for now. And then for the storage fee, a lot of the shared kitchen space charge for the storage fee. And if you have the consumer packaged goods product, you are likely that you need to find some kind of storage to store your product. even, I mean, if you're a restaurant, it's a different story because you also have brick and mortar already. So that could include in your rental fee. So this one, you can also separate it, or you can also combine with the rental fee. Food truck parking fee. So CommonWealth Kitchen again. So if you park the food truck at CommonWealth Kitchen, because you need to charge, your food truck, we actually have a fee for the food truck. Otherwise, all the food trucks will park with us. We cannot do that. So that's why we have like a minimal fee for a food truck to park. So if you don't have a food truck, you don't need to put in any of the fee here. Equipment leasing and maintenance. If you have to buy a kind of, equipment that you need for your food business. For example, some people need to buy bottling machine for their hot sauce. Some people need to buy or lease the hot how to say, like a package sealer, or like heat sealer, that type of thing. You probably either need to buy or lease. Usually for the fixed cost here, I just put in the leasing fee, and then when I buy a one-time equipment, I will just do a different calculation, and we are going to talk about that in the later presentation. So next is the employee salaries. So this one is like a salaries that you need to pay your employees every month. One thing that I want to point it out is a lot of people don't pay themselves, especially you are a business owner and you feel like, oh, I'm just gonna get it from a profit or whatever, So from my experience working with a small business, I found that if you don't pay yourself, you will never be able to pay yourself. So make sure that you set aside, and also, let's say, if you feel like you don't have much to pay to yourself, but set like $15 an hour or $20 an hour, and that's how you start to keep track of hours. And one day, like the job that you are working on that you pay yourself, that could be someone else's job. So this way you have a budget. Like let's say that I am cooking in the kitchen and I never pay to myself at all, and I have been cooking in the kitchen every day 8 hours a day. And in the future, I need help because I need to start doing something else. I need to go out and sell my products to customers. Now I don't have anyone else to cook for me in the kitchen. So now I need to hire someone to cook in the kitchen. So now that budget is gonna pay to that employee, and then I need to find a new budget to pay me as a salesperson. So now that's how you need to set kind of like a budget to help you grow. Otherwise you won't be able to grow. And in order to grow your business, you need to set a budget for employment. That's how you kind of like, when you start to build the team, that's how you start to scale your business. And this is a very important expense you should know, because if you cannot hire more people, it's very, very difficult to scale. So now the next item is phone and internet. So for the phone, I mean, we all need to use our phone, and a lot of people didn't realize that your phone bill could be your business expense, and that you should put them in annually. So if you, let's say you pay $50 a month, or $60 a month or $80 a month, you should put them in. And for also Wi-Fi and internet that you're using to run your business, you also should make take it into account and calculate that as well. And for the phone and internet, I usually put in $2,300. So technically my phone is like $960 a year, and then the Wi-Fi is like, let's say like $1,440. This is like, I calculated from my house, like my in-house expense that I have been using that. So kind of like, if you don't know how much, you can also use whatever you have to spend anyway. So that is that. And then there are some others. So if you see I have like other or miscellaneous, because I don't know what else that you could think of that I might not know. So we just use this simple calculation first, and then we just gonna sum this up and see, how much you need for this. This does actually looks very small, but I will just show you some other things that you also see. So for example, like this one, I just put them in, and then let's say that we put them in, and then I put in, let's say, legal accounting services for $2,000, and then the kitchen rental is $3,000 if you rent CommonWealth Kitchen a year, and storage fee, this is like a dry storage and cold storage. And then if you have a food truck, for example, and then this could sum up to $18,000. If you are working without the rent, that will also help save a lot of things. I found that a lot of the food business, especially consumer packaged goods, spend a lot of the expenses on the storage fee because you need to produce a lot of the products, and that came down to the warehouse that you need to spend regardless of where you store your products. That is a fee on that part. So let's say that we have and also don't forget the one-off expenses, as I mentioned earlier. So it could be logo design. If you can design your logo by yourself, that's awesome. You don't need to pay anyone. Labeling design, if you have that talent to make everything by yourself, so that's awesome. But I would also suggest you to kind of like, pay yourself again, at least set up some kind of the expenses to see that, oh, like this is a labeling budget, this is a logo budget, even though you can do it yourself. So that's awesome. Otherwise, you need to pay all of this when you start a food business. Food photography fee. So that's also part of, the marketing. So especially for food businesses, people judge you from the photos first, like from the eyes. Either you put them on the menu at the restaurant, or even you put the nice photos on the website. People never try your food, so they would just look at the photos first. So you need to make sure that you have at least decent photo to sell your, for your customers. And with all of this, it could also be the one-time equipment that I mentioned. Instead of leasing, if you buy equipment, that's also one-off expenses as well. So this way you can also calculate, like, for example, if you have to pay for your big equipment and it costs like $200,000. So now if you have the cash that you can pay off the whole thing, that's awesome. Otherwise, you also need to finance it, and then you need to spread it out into a year anyway. So now you also need to see, and then now it comes down to the depreciation costs and things like that. So now technically this is like a basic part, and then once you get this done, you will explore some other expenses that you may have later. So now, once you know the fixed cost, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna use like $18,000 from my extreme CommonWealth Kitchen model that you need to rent CommonWealth Kitchen for now. So, and then we're just gonna go from the calculation that I mentioned earlier, the formula that I told you how are we gonna be profitable in the food business. So you need to calculate your cost of goods sold, and then the cost of goods sold is the variable cost. This is different from the fixed cost that we talked about earlier. So once you get the cost of goods sold per unit, now you can calculate the price per unit. So for the cost of goods sold, it's like a totally different cost from the fixed cost. So as I mentioned, the fixed cost is the cost that you need to pay regardless of the sales or the production. So now the cost of goods sold is the cost that go up when you produce more units of products. So for example, the ingredient cost is one of the cost of goods sold. Labor cost is different from employee salary because labor cost is directly, for producing your product or, cooking your food in a restaurant. label and packaging cost. This one is for a company that has a consumer packaged goods that, you know, if you need to pack a sauce in a jar, so one jar producing will have, you need to buy one glass jar or one plastic container or whatever container or packaging that you need to do. And if you need to ship your product, you also need to include the shipping cost in the cost of goods as well. So this type of thing is going to be included in the cost of goods sold. So now we have fixed costs at $18,000, as I assume that you will just need to use my number for now. And then let's say that the cost of goods is $3 a jar. So now let's say that we are making jam, like $3 a jar to produce to produce a jar of jam. And then now let's say that you mark up 50%, which means that you will sell the product at $4.50. So the cost of goods sold is $3. You mark up you marked up 50%. So now the gross margin is 1.5. So now cost of goods is $3. Price is 4.5. And now you have the gross margin of $1.50. So now you need to calculate the quantity that you need to sell. So now you have $18,000 divided by 150. So you need to sell 12,000 jars a year to break even. So it actually sounds a lot. And this is like the reality. If you sell like consumer packaged goods, because that is literally like how much you actually make. And to be honest, like 50% markup is like a blessing for our consumer packaged goods. Usually we don't get 50% markup, we get like 30%. And one more thing that I want to give as like word of advice from someone who have been seeing this, you know, food entrepreneur who have dreams. A lot of people have been selling their products below than their cost of goods. Don't do that, because you will never make money, because you almost like you are donating your money to the retailer to make money on you. So never sell any product under the cost of goods sold. So don't do that. So now back to this. $18,000 is a fixed cost, and then the gross margin is 150. So now you need to sell 12,000 jars a year to break even. And in other words, you need to sell at least 1,000 jars a month to make your food business profitable. If you have to increase profits, you need to make more money, which you also need a strategic plan. And in order to be sustainable, you have to sell more than 12,000 jars a year in order to be profitable in the long run. So now, how are we gonna increase the profits? First, we need to reduce the fixed cost. So now you see that I have like an extreme, you know, fixed cost, that storage fee $7,000 and things like that. So now you need to think, how are you gonna reduce that high cost? Let's say that the storage fee is $7,000 a year. So now you need to think, can you reduce the amount of the storage to store only, and that could cost $5,000 a year instead? So now if that would work, you would have $16,000 fixed cost rather than $18,000 fixed cost, which means that you might not need to sell the minimum of 12,000 jars a year. So the first strategic plan is to reduce the fixed cost. And as I mentioned, so this one like $18,000 of this. So if you can reduce the storage fee from $7,000 to anything lower, that would be great. I mean, phone and internet is kind of like fixed anyway. You cannot go to the the state and ask for like, can I pay $300 instead of $500? No, that's, you know, that you cannot reduce. You know, you cannot go to the C of Cambridge and ask like, can I pay $10 for the business certificate instead of 50? No, you can't. So technically you just need to find a way to reduce the cost. If not, you need to find a way to make more profit. So now if you cannot reduce the fixed cost, so now you need to reduce the cost of goods sold, or you need to increase the price. So that, you know, so now we have like the gross margin $1.50 as you see from here. So now you need to think about if you can increase the gross margin, like instead of selling at $4.50, can you sell at $5, or you can sell at $6 and things like that. Some businesses can only lower their cost of goods so much because, you know, you don't want to compromise any quality that you are, you know, like that's the small business is all about high quality and also small batch and, you know, homemade and things like that. So you don't want to reduce the cost that much. So, and to make you suffer and end up losing your business because you don't want to compete that cost of goods to the bigger company. So now if you can no longer lower the cost of goods or increase the price, now you may need to think about the last option. One more warning to all of you again, as I mentioned earlier, don't sell at any price that lower than the cost of goods. Now increase the units sold. So as I mentioned, so in order to be sustainable, you also need to sell more in order to get more profits out of your business. Now, how can we increase the units sold then? So we have some strategic plans. So first, so you know, start a food business is not easy, as I mentioned, but I don't want to scare everyone away. And it's like, don't start a food business, you know, because I mean, that's why we have kind of like, food is our passion, equity is our mission. It's actually one of the model that CommonWealth Kitchen has been doing. So it's not just about the passion, it's also about equity as well. So start a food business is not easy. However, it would not be too difficult if you plan ahead. You should think about building a food business that will be financially sustainable. However, having a lot of money doesn't mean you could successfully build profitable businesses. Without strategic plans, you could easily drain your money and will end up suffering from not having enough budget for the following years. So make sure that you plan wisely. I have 7 suggested strategic plans that will help you build and grow your food businesses. So first, doing market analysis. Planning and learning about your target market will help you minimize your time and resources. So plan early. And I am so glad that you all are here and learn early so you can also plan ahead. Second, being detail oriented. Make sure you write down everything and record everything because everything will add up. Make sure you keep an eye out for everything. That is the key because, you know, small businesses thought that you can buy, you know, a ream of paper for like $10, but you need to buy a pen, you need to buy a pen, you need to buy clothes, you need to buy this. It doesn't cost a lot, but at the end of the day, you are like, oh my gosh, it's so much. So make sure that you write out everything. So this way you can plan and then you can also come back and analyze how much you have spent. The third strategic plan is having strong financial planning. I hope this class will help you understand how much you can plan your business budget and have a big picture of how you could start a food business. The fourth strategic plan is having strong financial planning. No, focusing on customer acquisition. So you have to focus on marketing and how you could communicate with your target customers. Make sure you know how to promote your products. now you know how to produce, you also need to make sure that you increase the units so that I was mentioning earlier, that you need to make sure that the world know about your products, your good service, your good products. You need to do a lot of the marketing or customer acquisition. And then the fifth strategic plan is to focus on sales, not a discount, but sales channels. So make sure your sales strategies go along well with your marketing. So you need to do that. And then the sixth strategic plan is always listening to your customers. Make sure to listen and willing to pivot if necessary, because your customers are the one that you spend money on your products or service. You need to make sure that you need to get all the feedback that they give you. I mean, not all customers can be your customers, but you also need to pick and choose as well. Some people who buy your products are your target customers, but some can try and think that they are not really your target customers. So now you also need to go down to the target market that you have. So listening to your target customer is also the key. And now I mentioned earlier, you might think that I made a mistake by saying 7 strategic plans. If you took, if I mentioned earlier, you still remember like the rule of starting a food business, and that would also be my last and the most important strategic plan is do not run out of cash. So make sure to plan accordingly. And I hope you have learned something about budgeting your food business. And if you don't learn any new things, please still remember, don't run out of cash. So make sure that you do know that. So now, how CommonWealth Kitchen fits in. I mean, this is almost like a marketing for me, but just so you know that we provide reduced cost startup, we reduce startup costs. Our kitchen is a little bit, we provide like a very low cost for renting the kitchen. We also have the commercial kitchen space that built out. We have a lot of the machines that you don't need to lease or you don't need to purchase. So technically that will also help out. We also have like Baxter oven that can bake everything at once for like 40 trays at once. It's almost like a walk-in oven. It sounds creepy, but it's amazing. So you can bake, you get 2,000 cookies at once. It's like amazing for me. It's like, wow, that's great. And then we have bottling machine. We also have like a dough sheeter. We actually just bought a new machine that called VMAX. It's like we can use that machine to portion the cookie doughs or burgers. So that is like amazing. We also provide business support and technical assistance. We are that, and we also community of startup food business. And as I mentioned earlier, we are hosting a food show tomorrow with 90 plus food vendors that showcase their talents and passion. So this is what we do here. So I saw that we have some questions. Oh, so the food truck. Yes, thank you so much so David asked, I am in the planning stages for food trucks. Launch date is March 2023. How can I get involved with CommonWealth Kitchen for help advice networking? So we actually have other workshops as well that we provide. So you can also check out commonwealthkitchen.org. Food truck is a little bit tricky because if you have to produce out of CommonWealth Kitchen, you need to park a food truck with us. This is the regulations of the city of Boston. So you need to park your truck at the location that you are permitted. So this is going to be a little bit tricky because we only have 10 spots for parking and for charging your trucks. So right now we are at the capacity. We actually at the capacity where we have to start a wait list. So if you're interested in using our space, you can also, apply for the application on our website. And then I highly encourage you to to check out our website. We have info session, virtual info session, and also virtual tour. There will be more details about the programs and things like that. So please check that out. And we open the application. The next deadline is October 1st. You can also check that out. And, because we cannot kick anyone out of our kitchen until they actually find their own location and they move out. So that spot will be open. That's how this is like a circle of our, food truck businesses at CommonWealth Kitchen. So we don't provide in-person tours since the pandemic. So we do the virtual tours. So at least you get a sense of how you can see what equipment and things we provide. So what time is the fee and location of tomorrow event? So tomorrow event for the pub, so we have 2 portions. The buyers industry trade show, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. That is for like buyers like Whole Foods, Stop and Shop, that they are participating and learn about the vendors and potentially carry the products. For the public, it's 4 to 7 p.m. The ticket sales, technically if you buy the ticket by tomorrow at 4 p.m. online is $15 and you get 1 drink ticket, the beer ticket, and then you get a chance to sample and buy the products and support local businesses. And if you go to the event and walk in, you pay $20 and you get the drink ticket. And yep. We do mentorship. Definitely we do mentorship, but only for the businesses that produce out of our kitchen. I didn't mention earlier that we have 55 companies produce out of our kitchen. And imagine that we have very small group of team at CommonWealth Kitchen, and we do the mentorship, so all the members, we call everyone who produce with us a member. So all the members get a one-on-one coaching and mentoring once a month. And technically, for something like we have a food show like this, we actually do extensive mentorship and we actually help these companies to get ready for the food show. So if you are interested in CommonWealth Kitchen, please check out our website and we can answer more on that part. So since we still have 12 more minutes, what I'm gonna do is I am gonna share you one document, and you will also receive this document as well at the end of this class. So it's actually the estimated product development cost. This one, do you still see my spreadsheet? Okay, awesome. So this is the documentation that the state of Massachusetts, NIFA, and CommonWealth Kitchen are working together to provide resources for small food business in Massachusetts. So this is actually more of like a detail oriented for people who haven't started a food business at all. If you can see from here, like serve safe training, for some of you who already started your food business, you probably are familiar, but this is a requirement that all the businesses need to have the serve safe certification. Some share kitchens require the training in addition to the certificate itself for the food safety purposes. So, and then if you need a training, you need to do a training. Otherwise, you also, you need to buy a book. It costs you something. If you need a certification, it also costs you for the certification. And for Massachusetts, you also need allergen certification as well. That is only $10 and you get it. You watch the allergen training. And for me, a lot of people, complain like, why do I need to do this? But for me, it's so valuable, especially for your staff to attend. And actually at CommonWealth Kitchen, we actually encourage all the staff, the company staff, to get the serve safe certification and the allergen certification, not just for the requirement, but for the good practices. We are, for some of you who might go further and do food safety training, that will cost you something. some companies that need to do third-party audit, you also need to do GMP training, sanitation training. It costs you something. And for any one of you who have acidified shelf-stable products like hot sauce or any sauce that you are doing shelf-stable, is the federal requirements that you need to have federal process control school, and you also need to get the schedule process, so that is also cost you something. And now we also, some kitchen space have the application fee. Some of them also require refundable deposit. If you are renting brick and mortar, landlord might ask you for some kind of deposit. You also, this is like a share kitchen style deposit. It could range from 1,000 to 1,500. CommonWealth Kitchen do 700 for the refundable security deposit. But this one is just for in general. And if you are a restaurant, they might ask you for even like $10,000 or $20,000 refundable deposit. So it really depends on how you are gonna work with whom, and that is some, kitchen rental, things like that. And we also have, as I mentioned, the product labeling and packaging design. It could range from, zero, which is like some people do for pro bono, and some you might need to pay like $200 per product to get that done. Nutrition fact could range from like free, like there is a website that you can also check it out, and also some people charge for like $2,000 product. And if you end up buying a software could cost you like $5,000. The shelf life testing is also cost you something. It could range from $0 to $1,200 per product. And if you need like microbial testing, that also costs you something. Logo development, graphic design for packaging, this type of thing I mentioned earlier in the slide, but this is kind of like in details. And I also have this one is kind of like we actually use the city of Boston. So city of Boston is 65, but the city of Cambridge is only 50. So now I'm in a jealous mode that, the city of Cambridge is a little bit cheaper. So now it really depends on the city that you are register your business. And, the retail license, the wholesale state license, and also the insurance. And if you want to go further to get like certified organic certification or kosher, technically organic now is cost more than 400. Yeah, for annual sales under, but it's actually cost more now. I need to update this number. But that is like non-GMO thing. So if you gonna claim non-GMO ingredients on your products, Whole Foods now actually ask for the third-party audit. So you also need to pay for that. You cannot just claim like non-GMO palm oil and things like that. So if you are not selling to Whole Foods, you can do whatever you want. But if you are selling to the wholesalers, like usually the wholesalers are the one who are more strict than actually the state or the federal regulations. For example, the state and the federal regulations do not require the nutrition panel and the barcode on a product if your revenues are less than $1 million a year. So, however, the Whole Foods Stop and Shop Market Basket won't accept any products without a barcode or nutrition panel. First is like customers actually want that. You go buy your food products on shelf and you actually read the nutrition panels. That's why, even though it's not like mandatory for the small food processor, you still have to have that for marketing purposes. And then for the barcode, most wholesale require that because that's how they keep track all the products. Otherwise, that they don't have like all the human being to put in like $5 per jar. You just scan with the machine and then the price come up. So that is like kind of like necessary. So for anyone who want to go further for like SQF, the safe quality food audits and things like that, this is more advanced. It costs a lot. So, and then as I mentioned, schedule process is required by federal, it's a federal requirement for the shelf stable acidified food. So you need to have that. And you know, there are some other things that you need to plan for that might cost you more. And this is the cost of goods sold that I mentioned earlier, like ingredients, food containers, bottles, you know, things like that, or label printing for your packaging. And also if you have to do like some scale up, like you are looking for a co-packer or co-manufacturing space, you have to do all like the trial run and things like that will cost you more. So that's why these little things you kind of like need to plan ahead and set up and set that aside, and you know in advance what you have to pay, and you are expecting any of that here. So this is pretty much you know, like a basic detail for budgeting for your food business. So I hope this is helpful. So I'm just gonna stop sharing the screen, and then I will just see what else. Yes, so this is, yes, you can use the kitchen at any time technically, but we actually, you know, if you come in at midnight, that's strange, but usually our kitchen is open from like 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Awesome. Any other questions? I'm glad everyone is curious about what we do, but if you have any questions about budgeting, I know you all like are curious about CommonWealth Kitchen, but
I love CommonWealth Kitchen, and I'm still curious about it too. This is a fantastic presentation ploy and a fantastic organization behind it. We can't thank you enough. I am going to just quickly drop my contact information in the chat for folks in case they have follow-up questions that they think of later, or just any other needs. And that'll also give us a chance so that if people have some questions they want to get together now, there's still a couple minutes left.
Awesome. What is the label license you mentioned? The label license. Can you explain a little bit more? Oh, you mean the label regulations then? So the label regulations. So technically, all the companies need to follow the federal labels regulations. There are some exceptions for small businesses that they don't require a barcode and nutrition panels. But we highly recommend having barcode. It can be, you know, technically it's like I have been telling all the small food businesses, especially if you are consumer packaged goods, if you are a catering or restaurant, pretty much you don't really need them. So what I can show you real quick. So for example, this is like a label, basic label requirements. This is from the I think from the federal website, FDA. And technically this is a nutrition fact that is an exempt if you are producing or you are a small producer. But all of this, the rest of this is a requirement that you need to have it on the product regardless. Like the name of the product, ingredient statement is super like necessary, especially if you have any allergen. You also need to have allergen. Like if you see allergens, shellfish, you know, things like that, eggs, dairy, you always see wheat, you know, so these are requirements. Identification of manufacturer, where you produce or distribute it, you know, the handling statement, this is super necessary. And also safe handling instructions if you have one, something like that. And technically this is not complete, you need the amount as well, how many ounces and the serving size. I shouldn't have showed you this, but technically it's not complete. So you can also search FDA label requirements. Thank you, Christina, for dropping the information. Awesome. I saw one more question about suggestions for estimating and projecting realistic sales. It's totally different, you know, because if you sell your product at like $12 and I'm selling my product at $3, it's gonna come out totally different. And also which type of product, you know, if it's a hot sauce, I mean, how often are you using your hot sauce? Like you don't use hot sauce every day and you don't use a lot compared to like the simmer sauce, where when you sell a simmer sauce, you add protein, you cook up, you eat it for a meal, and you need to rebuy, like you need to buy it again. But hot sauce, you might need it for, you know, in the next 6 months or so. So it really depends on what type of products. What I would suggest is you should estimate how are you gonna acquire customers and how are you gonna retain them? How are you gonna keep them coming back and buy more? And you also need to calculate how often they're gonna buy again. Oh, for the food trucks, so at CommonWealth Kitchen again, I'm like, you are just gonna hear about the CommonWealth Kitchen. We actually recommend all of the food trucks to have a minimum guarantee, especially for a private or a catering service of $1,500. If any customer cannot guarantee the revenues, they should not do it. So that's how we do, unless they are with the city, like the city of Cambridge has a spot, or the city of Boston has like a lottery that they get a spot. So that is like no guarantee, but people will know that, oh, this spot, this food truck will be there every week. So they know where to get the food from the food truck. But for someone who just randomly asks you to like vendor there, you need a guarantee. Otherwise you have to bring 3 to 4 people with you. You know, you need to pay the labor, you need to pay the ingredients, you need to waste the ingredients that you prep for that type of event. So usually we recommend about $1,500 a day, an event. Awesome. There are a lot of great questions today.
There are a lot of great questions. Thank you for addressing all of them, Floyd. I think we probably have to call it at this point, unfortunately, because we're a couple minutes over. But we're so grateful for your time, for your expertise, for being so generous with your information. And if folks have questions, please do email me, call me, happy to share resources. As mentioned, this is being recorded, so this will end up on our City of Cambridge website for folks to reference in the future. So with that, I will probably sign off and just say thank you again, Floyd, for everything. This was so wonderful.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Hope to see you soon. Good luck tomorrow and take care.
Thank you. Have a great evening, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.